Look at the 35th chapter. After, I want you to notice this. Isaac and Jacob, or Abraham dies in Genesis, the 25th chapter. Something else happens major in the 25th chapter. The birth of Jacob and Esau, where the elder shall serve the younger, as it is written, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, at the end of this chapter. So, Jacob have I loved, Esau have I hated, is at the end of the chapter where Abraham dies. Where Abraham dies. At the end of that chapter. Kind of keep those things in mind. Now look over here in the 35th chapter. I got to give you this. Jacob and Esau are born here in the 25th chapter. Immediately at the end of the 25th chapter, after they're born, it shows that Esau is this hunter, and he goes out and hunts. His father's hungry. He says, I want some venison. And he says, I want you to go out and get me some venison. And he brings it back. And while he's out there hunting, Jacob's cooking pottage, and Esau's hungry. And he said, Jacob says, I'll trade you some beans for lentils, which are beans. I'll trade you some for your birthright. And he says, okay. And that all happens in the 25th chapter. Abraham's death, Jacob and Esau are born, the elder shall serve the younger, and the venison and stealing the birthright. Steal birthright. Well, that wasn't the official stealing of the birthright. The stealing of the birthright happens in the next chapter, in the 26th chapter. That's where Jacob's mother, Rebekah, connives with, it was her idea to send Jacob in to Isaac and to pretend to be Esau by putting some hair on his arms. And so Isaac would say, smells like Ishmael, but the voice sounds like Jacob. And he places the right hand of blessing on Jacob and officially passes the birthright to him there in that 26th chapter. And then we find in the 28th chapter, Jacob, that, in fact, look here. Right after he steals the birthright, before I get to this 35th chapter, look over here in the 26th chapter. After he steals his birthright officially from his father, now wait a minute. Let me give you, this is the 26th chapter is on Abimelech. The 27th, that's kind of an inserted chapter. I'll come back to that. The 27th chapter is about stealing the birthright. I'm just like y'all. I don't get it all right every time. All right. 27th chapter is about stealing the birthright. And look down here at the end of the 27th chapter. These things all go together. Look down here at the end of the 27th chapter, verse 41. Here's how Esau felt for Jacob stealing his birthright, and this is very important to remember. And Esau hated Jacob. How's that? He hated him. That's why Jacob is going to go off in the 28th chapter. Well, at the end of the 27th chapter, Jacob's mother, Rebekah, tells him, run for your life. Your brother's after you. She loves Jacob better than she loves Esau. Isaac loves Esau better than he loves Jacob because he's a man. He's a man's man. I see these stupid signs on the back of cars. Real men love Jesus. You stupid. I don't even know what that means. Real men. Oh, you mean guys with muscles love Jesus or what? I don't know. People are using an excuse to, what they mean is real men love the other Jesus. I guess, I don't know. In the 28th chapter, that's where Isaac calls Jacob to him and gives him the official blessing. He said, I'm going to give the blessing of Abraham to you. But in that 28th chapter, he tells him, head for the land of Padan Aram. Padan Aram in the 28th chapter. That means a table or a land of Aram, and it's plains of Mesopotamia. Get out of here and go to your mother's brother Bethuel. Get out of here and head off up here, wherever. We don't know whether they were in Syria or down here in Babylon, what we call Iraq. There was somewhere in this land up here was named for Haran, Abraham's older brother. So even Isaac is trying to protect Jacob because he knows he's officially given this second born the blessing of God. And if all this deceit does not happen, if all of it doesn't happen, Jacob is not going to end up over here. If the deceit doesn't happen, Jacob's not going to end up over here in Babylon. He's not going to see Leah or Rachel. There will be no Judah. There will be no king coming out of Judah. There will be no Levi. There will be no Levites. There will be no law of the Levites. There will be no Moses leading them out of the wilderness. There will be no Rachel, and she bears Joseph in that 30th chapter. If there's no Joseph, then there's not going to be anybody sold into Egypt to have Israel end up in Egypt, is there? All of this is the will of God. And if there's no law for Israel to break, did Israel just stumble that they might stumble? No, they stumbled so that salvation will come to the Gentiles. There will be no salvation to the Gentiles. All this deception has to come about. It must. Mustn't it? Yes, sirree. Well, I was going to tell you something here. All right. So he hates Jacob, and then Jacob runs, heads off in the 28th chapter, he heads off up into the land of Haran. In the 29th chapter, he gets up to Haran. Gets to Haran, and he runs across, sees this beautiful girl, the daughter. But notice something. Let me show you something. I was going to show you something. Oh. I'll come back. I'll catch that later. This will take me to somewhere I don't want to go. All right. Now, this 29th chapter is the Rachel and Leah chapter. He sees Rachel up there, this beautiful woman, the daughter of Bethuel, the brother of his mother. That's exactly what Jacob tells him to do. He said, you go to Bethuel, thy mother's brother. And you go up there and stay with him. Well, as soon as he gets there, they would call a first cousin a sister. People say, who did Cain marry? He married his sister. Jacob's going to marry his sister, his first cousin. So he works 7 years to get Rachel. He's given Leah instead. And Laban, his mother's brother, not Bethuel. Laban, his mother's brother, says you can't marry off the youngest before the oldest. It's a custom in this land that it's a disgrace to do that. Jacob says, okay, I'll work 7 more years for Rachel. Well, he does that in this 29th chapter. And then he goes through all of this, and this is what I want to show you. That 29, 30, 31 is all about Jacob being up here in Jacob is up here in the land of Haran, and he's getting in fights with Laban and having differences with him, and he's lying to Laban, and Laban is lying to him, and we're going to go through that. And then in 32, he heads back. He comes back to the land. He comes back to the land of what future is going to be Israel, or the land of Canaan. And after he gets back, he has 11 sons when he's up in the land of Canaan, and that happens in the 29th and 30th chapter. But he gets back in the 35th chapter, and a couple of really important things happen. We got the 34th chapter about his sister Dinah. But the 35th chapter, Rachel is back in the land with her husband Jacob. She's back in the land with Jacob, and she has her 12th son, Benjamin. And that's in this 35th chapter. You can see that here, starting in verse 16. She's back in the land. Jacob has spent at least 14 years, probably 20 years up there in the land of Haran. He's up there to get Rachel and to get Leah, and he works for them, and he gets both of them, and they have children after. Even Rachel has Joseph, and her handmaid has 2 other sons. So therefore, they're at least another 3, maybe 4 years. So he's over there in the land of Haran 18, 19 years maybe. Something like that. Close to 20 years. And he comes back, and she has Benjamin after they get back to Canaan. 11 sons born up here, Benjamin born when they get back down here to southern Judah. Because that's where Abraham's home is, in Beersheba, the southernmost town in Israel at that time. Now, or not in Israel, but in Canaan, it will be future be called Israel. And look here in verse 16. And they journeyed from Bethel, and there was but a little way to come to Ephrath. Ephrath is Bethlehem, another term for that. And Rachel travailed, or the Bethlehem area, and she had hard labor. And it came to pass when she was in hard labor that the midwife said unto her, Fear not, thou shalt have this son also. And it came to pass as her soul was departing, she's dying. Rachel's dying. Jacob's beloved Rachel. Beautiful, beautiful woman. For she died, that she called his name Benoni. But his father called him Benjamin, and Rachel died. So here she is dying. All these deaths are important because it gives you time factors. And was buried in the way of Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. Rachel's buried in Bethlehem. Remember, well, I won't go into that. And Rachel died and was buried in the way to Ephrath, which is Bethlehem. And Jacob set up a pillar upon her grave, that is the pillar of Rachel's grave unto this day. But look here at the end of this chapter. Well, let me see here. Do I need to go on this? If you want a list of the sons, here they are. The sons of Leah, verse 23. Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon and Levi, and Judah, Issachar and Zebulun. These were born later. And the sons of Rachel, Joseph and Benjamin. And the sons of Bilhah, which was Rachel's handmaid, Dan and Naphtali. And the sons of Zilpah, Leah's handmaid, Gad and Asher. These are the sons of Jacob, which were born to him in Paddan Aram. And Jacob came unto Isaac his father. Now notice, Isaac is still alive after Jacob spends all those years running away in the 28th chapter, coming back, and his father's still alive. And Jacob came unto Isaac his father, unto Mamre, unto the city of Arba, which is Hebron, where Abraham